This is RTV6 News at 11, working for you.
Developing right now, 2 people shot at a Northeast Side restaurant. Tonight, we're breaking down what happened moments before the gunfire. Plus, a local restaurant boarded up following a massive fire. Tonight, why neighbors aren't giving up on the future of the local icon. And deciding the future for your child's education. The new information we're learning about plans for 3 IPS schools. But we start tonight with your Storm Team 6 forecast. Good evening. I'm Cameron Ridle. Nicole Griffin has the evening off. The temperatures are dropping across central Indiana, but does that mean snow? We need to check in with meteorologist Kyle Mounts to find out our plans for Sunday. Hey, Kyle.
Yeah, and Cameron, Storm Team 6 radar is looking a little more messy than it has for much of the day. Now that we're pulling in some of that colder air into the system, you can see over the western portion of the state, some of those returns indicating some snow, possibly some sleet. We've had that report come in around the Terre Haute area as well. This is sliding to the east and will be moving through the downtown area, but I do not expect to see many impacts out there, certainly on the roads, as we had the warmer temperatures earlier in the day. But this is it. This is the last of the precipitation. It will move out here during the overnight hours, but the flooding continues. In fact, we still have some flood warnings into tomorrow morning. The rivers are not going to crest here for the next couple of days, and more rain chances are ahead in the 7-day forecast. But those temperatures, they are falling, but they are above the freezing mark as they sit in the middle to upper 30s. By tomorrow morning, 31. We'll talk about a cooler second half of the weekend in a few minutes.
All right, Kyle, thank you. 2 people are okay after a water rescue in Park County. The Marshall Volunteer Fire Department says the rescue happened at Portland Mills Dooley Station. That's near a covered bridge. First responders say people in the truck tried to drive around the covered bridge using a concrete slab. The truck ended up in a waterway. This serves as a reminder to never drive through high water. Well, now is a great time to make sure you have the Storm Shield app downloaded. You can get audio alerts as soon as they are issued. It's all based on your location. Just search Storm Shield in your smartphone's app store. At least 9 people have died as a result of storms bearing down on the eastern half of the U.S. this weekend. You see some of the damage right here. Among them, 3 people have lost their lives in a tornado near Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Authorities say 2 of the people there were killed. They were an elderly couple.
It has been a very devastating storm in that area. People have suffered a lot of loss, including life. That's the most important thing, and that's what we're addressing at this time.
The same storm system is also bringing a winter component to areas north of the Hoosier State. Developing tonight, the search continues at this hour for the suspects accused of shooting 2 employees inside a Lawrence restaurant. This happened just after 7 tonight at the Bando restaurant on Pendleton Pike. Police say the suspects entered the restaurant through a back door and then shot the victims. Authorities say the suspects were never in the same rooms as customers. Police say the suspects ran south from the Bando restaurant. The employees are expected to recover. Police say nothing was taken during that attempted robbery. We're covering your child's education tonight. Indianapolis Public Schools is revealing its plan to take back control of 3 of its schools that are currently run by the state. On Wednesday, the State Board of Education will vote on whether or not it will return those 3 schools back over to IPS after the state takeover in 2012. Tonight, IPS announced its intentions for each school. On the south side, Emma Donnan Middle School will be run by either Phelan Leadership Academy or Adelante Charter Schools. Manual High School will be turned into a Crystal House Academy's charter school. And on the east side, Howe High School will close its doors for good. IPS leaders say this plan has been years in the making.
A couple years ago, we closed 3 of our public high schools, merged from 7 to 4 high schools. And we made a statement that if these high schools were returned to us, we were not going to reopen them as our high schools.
The school district is planning to allow current students at the 3 schools to have priority for which charter school of the future or which other IPS school they wish to attend. A favorite local restaurant goes up in flames. Today, boards were covering up the windows of the Country Kitchen Soul Food restaurant after a 2-alarm blaze forced that restaurant to close its doors. Tonight, RTV6's Troy Washington is catching up with some members of the community who are not giving up on returning to that restaurant.
The bitter smell of smoke hits you at the corner of North College Avenue, where the sweet smell of soul food usually welcomes customers.
The hide-and-go-seek meat with sweet potatoes.
According to Pastor Lionel T. Rush, everyone has a go-to favorite at Country Kitchen Soul Food Place.
Great food, great soul food. It's folksy, but it's elegant at the same time.
Like Pastor Rush, many people can't believe the staple for comfort food is closed, or that a fire is the reason boards are covering the windows. Person after person walking up disappointed because their Saturday dinner plans will now have to change because of the fire here at Country Kitchen Soul Food Place.
Smothered pork chops with greens and potato salad. And don't forget the big jar they give you of lemonade.
Pastor Carlton Lynch made the drive from Michigan just to have his taste buds jolted by the restaurant that sparks a million childhood memories for him.
A lot of people are going to be hurt, but I think that there's also going to be blessings that come after this.
Hopefully I did okay. Doris Behringer works here at the restaurant. She says she hung up her apron just hours before she got the call that instantly stopped her in her tracks.
A lot of people depend on Country Kitchen for income. Feed a lot of families, send children to school, and my gas money, I'm retired.
Like Behringer, Pastor Rush knows the impact the Soul Food Kitchen has on the community.
That wall, on those walls in there, you would see Barack Obama.
A place just as rich in history as it is in the flavor of the food being served.
We thank you for community, and we thank you, God, for this establishment that has meant so much to this community.
Even though right now investigators haven't said what caused the blaze, these pastors are praying that the best is yet to come. Working for you on the north side, Troy Washington, RTV6.
A mother and her young children are safe from a fire thanks to her quick thinking and the help of neighbors. The fire started just before 10 last night at the Pangea Prairie Apartments on the city's northeast side. Firefighters say smoke and flames prevented the 21-year-old woman and her children from leaving their third-floor apartment. Officials say she tossed her children to the arms of neighbors who were waiting below, and then she jumped herself. Residents say a screaming neighbor alerted them to get out of that burning building.
No, we actually heard somebody yelling, and at first we thought somebody was maybe arguing or something, and then we opened up the door and we seen the smoke, so then we knew instantly we needed to get out.
Fire officials say the building did have working smoke alarms. Tonight, the residents from that building, 12 different units, do not have a place to stay. Thankfully, there were no injuries reported. Another fire is under investigation tonight at an apartment building on the city's near north side. The fire started at the Marat building just before 4 this afternoon. Authorities say the fire started in an electrical panel, making it hard to figure out which floor the fire started on. 2 people were checked out for slight injuries, but officials say they were not related to the fire. Tonight, a deadly crash remains under investigation in Johnson County. The crash happened on State Road 135 near Division Road in Bargersville. Just after midnight, deputies say a woman crossed the center line and hit a pickup truck head on. The impact killed the driver of that truck. Sheriff's officials say alcohol does appear to be a factor. A plane crash killing nearly 200 people in Iran remains under investigation tonight. After the break, how officials from around the world are aiming to help figure out what happened. Plus, mental health can be difficult to talk about, especially in the workplace. The new support program one company is pioneering and how they want others to follow.
It's been a pretty mild January so far, but there are signs of a pattern change and a cool down coming our way. I'll let you know if it'll come with snow chances. You're watching RTV6 News at 11.
Now that's what Hardee's calls a resolution.
This is RTV6 News at 11, working for you.
Welcome back. The November election is 297 days away, but the Iowa caucuses are right around the corner. With just weeks to go, it may be shaping up to be a four-way race among Democratic presidential hopefuls. The polls show Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders leading the pack with 20% among likely caucus goers. Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren is behind Sanders at 17%. Former South Bend Mayor Pete Buttigieg and former Vice President Joe Biden took third and fourth place spots at 16% and 15%. Now to the latest on the downing of a Ukrainian airliner by the Iranian military. As ABC's Stephanie Ramos reports, the country is now admitting they mistakenly shot down that passenger jet.
Following days of denials, Iran now admitting its air defenses shot down a Ukrainian International Airlines passenger plane. The Revolutionary Guard says the Boeing 737 was mistaken for a hostile target. Iran's president tweeting, its armed forces' internal investigation has concluded that, regrettably, missiles fired due to human error caused the horrific crash of the Ukrainian plane and death of 176 innocent people. 57 Canadian citizens among those killed. Canada's Prime Minister calling Iran's admission an important first step, but says a complete investigation must be conducted.
We need full clarity. Families are seeking justice and accountability, and they deserve closure.
Iran's Foreign Minister Javad Zarif calling the tragedy human error caused by U.S. adventurism. Zarif has criticized President Trump for threatening to strike Iranian cultural sites if Iran retaliated for the killing of General Qasem Soleimani. The Trump administration insists the killing of Soleimani stopped an imminent planned attack on Americans. But when questioned Friday by Fox's Laura Ingraham, President Trump still won't say what the specific threat was.
Do they have large-scale attacks planned for other embassies? And if those were planned, why can't we reveal that to the American people? Wouldn't that help your case?
I can reveal that I believe it would have been 4 embassies.
Some members of Congress complaining the administration hasn't been forthcoming enough.
At this point, in terms of what is in the public domain, difficult to address some of what they contended.
The U.S. has imposed a host of new sanctions against Iran. President Trump says they will remain in effect until Iran changes its behavior. Stephanie Ramos, ABC News, New York.
An Alaska man is finding himself thrown into dire circumstances in the cruelest of conditions. Aerial footage shows the moment Alaskan homesteader Tyson Steele thought he might never come home. He was rescued by a state trooper helicopter team after his cabin burned to the ground in a remote area of the Alaskan interior. Steele woke to find the roof of his cabin in flames. For more than 20 days, Steele survived in a makeshift shelter using debris from his cabin and what little food he had managed to salvage.
At that point, I sat down on the ground for a while. Like, just, it was cold, right? I didn't have any socks in my boots, and I was just wearing pajamas at that point and a t-shirt.
Despite his recent struggles, Steele says he plans to return to rebuild in Alaska. You going back, Kyle?
Wow, amazing. Not in that capacity.
Pass.
But yeah. All right, as we go through the next couple of days, things are going to warm up again. We were actually in the 60s this morning. Doesn't look all that pretty, the view out there tonight, but things are going to dry out as we go into tomorrow. We've picked up quite a bit of rain, though. Let's show you over the last couple of days, 2 to 4 inches of rain. Some spots have even picked up 4 to 5 inches of wet weather here. You can see around Bedford and also into the Seymour area where those rainfall amounts have exceeded 4 inches, and that's why we still have flood warnings tonight that go all the way into tomorrow morning, stretching from around Anderson through Indianapolis and into Bloomington, Bedford, and Seymour. The heavy rain has moved out. Now that we've got some of that colder air, you notice we're getting a little more wintry picture here on Storm Team 6 radar. A few snowflakes, sleet pellets mixing in, but again, that's not going to be accumulating, causing us any problems. The area of low pressure is finally starting to chug its way through Ohio, and behind that, we have those winds out of the west, around 10 to 15 miles per hour, a little stronger there in Richmond with a west wind at 23. Temperature right now is 37 in downtown, 38 for you in the Bloomington area, lower 40s in Muncie, but you will also fall into the 30s, right around 30 degrees by Sunday morning, upper 20s in Rockville and Lafayette, and 31 in the Greenwood area. Now, as we go throughout our Sunday, we're not going to deal with any rain, but you notice on TrueCast, we're going to keep quite a bit of cloud cover. Call it a mostly cloudy day for us. That will just kind of add to the chill that's going to be in the air because temperatures are going to be about 20 degrees colder than what we experienced today. 35 at noon, 41 as we go to 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and these numbers are still at or above average for this time of year. You'll get 42 in Columbus and Bloomington, upper 30s around Lafayette, and 39 in in Muncie. But temperatures, they rally pretty quickly here as we get into the week ahead. On Monday, we're already knocking on the door of 50 degrees once again, and we'll be well into the 50s on Tuesday and Wednesday. And Wednesday is going to be that next chance for some wet weather coming into central Indiana in your 7-day planning forecast. So that means that we've got a few days of dry weather here, allow things to dry up just a little bit with temperatures that make their way to 57 on Tuesday. The morning low there, 40 degrees. There's that chance for some rain developing throughout the day on Wednesday. Shouldn't add up to a whole lot for us. Some colder air moves in behind that system. High temperatures, upper 30s as we go into Friday. Another weather maker could bring some rain and snow mixed together here as we go into next weekend. Right now it looks like more rain than snow, but once again, more rain we don't need.
All right, so we'll enjoy the dryness while we have it, and then we'll get back to some wet weather later the next week.
Yep, as we get into Wednesday.
All right, thank you, Kyle. Okay. As the number of Americans attempting to take their own lives continues to increase at an alarming rate, mental health advocates are now teaching intervention. Today, dozens of Hoosiers accepted that invite to learn more. Much like CPR, QPR training teaches what could be life-saving measures. David Berman with Mental Health America of Indiana says QPR training is now a necessity. He led today's course, which aims to teach anyone how to be what he calls an active bystander. That's someone who witnesses a problem and then does something about it. The goal of QPR is simple. It's recognizing the signs of someone having suicidal thoughts and then knowing what to do next.
The purpose is the same in many ways. So QPR stands for Question, Persuade, and Refer. CPR is designed to keep someone alive until professionals get there. QPR is very similar. The intent is to keep people alive when they're thinking about suicide until they can get professional help.
Today's seminar was put together in part by our media partners, WTLC and Radio 1. Workplaces are getting more comfortable about talking about mental health. It's especially important in the construction industry. It has one of the highest suicide rates of all occupations, according to the CDC. Elizabeth Ruiz takes us inside one company becoming a national model for mental health awareness on the job.
All right, guys, today's toolbox talk is mental health and workplace safety.
Every morning, the workers at RK, a construction manufacturing and service business, circle up for their toolbox talk.
For many years, it's considered taboo to talk about mental health at a work or other public places. Luckily, the stigma surrounding mental health is changing, and people are talking about it.
So the big thing here that you guys need to look at is to listen.
The practice started in 2014 after an incident that shook everyone at the company.
We had one of our employees that worked in our shops, and at the end of his shift, he walked around and handed out all of his tools. By the time we figured it out that he was contemplating suicide potentially, I think we went to his house and he had already taken his life.
Alongside industry leaders and suicide experts, John helped develop the blueprint for mental health, wellness, and suicide prevention within the construction industry.
If our people are struggling, they shouldn't suffer in silence. There's something that we can do.
6, 7.
They developed the daily toolbox talk, and they expanded their employee assistance program, making it easier for people to get help from counselors.
What's that? Change in habits. What else?
Most importantly, they transformed the construction workplace culture by having open conversations about mental health and creating a compassionate environment in an industry that historically has been built on toughness.
I think we've averted over 15 suicides where people have come up to us during crisis and said, hey, I need help.
If we can go over to that one that's on the table right over there on the corner.
One person who was brave enough to ask for help, Project Superintendent Dean Italiano.
I have PTSD, depression, I have really bad anxiety, and I have ADHD. Some days you just feel like you just can't go on. I mean, the pain is so great, and it's so hard to explain to people. You just feel like you'd rather just not deal with it anymore.
He He says thankfully he's found tremendous support at RK. In fact, John was the person he called when he was in crisis. Dean says he knows the company culture is rare.
What do you think about RK having such a strong focus on mental health wellness?
Oh, it's awesome. It makes me just so proud of this company, and it makes me want to stay here.
If you or someone you know is struggling, please call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 1-800-273-8255. I'm Elizabeth Ruiz reporting.
Get 2 pairs for $78.
Welcome back. All eyes on the college football world are on two teams this weekend, a battle of the Tigers of Clemson and LSU. The teams are in the Big Easy tonight, preparing for the college football championship. A win for Clemson would be Dabo Swinney's second straight. Meanwhile, LSU hasn't played in a national title game since the BCS championship back in 2012. Here's how both teams are feeling leading up to the big game.
This is definitely a road game. It just worked out that way. And I mean, it's just, you don't know these things in advance, but I think it's really cool for LSU.
It's not very good comparison. Great quarterback, great coaches, great skill players, outstanding technique. Those guys have won 29 games straight. They're doing a lot of great things at Clemson. They're doing a great job of attracting great recruits and developing them. A lot of similarities.
Teams will play Monday night at 8 o'clock. That game can be watched on ABC's sister network, ESPN. To college basketball now. IU at home hosting Ohio State who has lost 3 straight, by the way. Let's remember the Buckeyes started the year ranked number 2. The Hoosiers would start the second half down by 1. A back and forth between IU and Ohio State would end with just 3 minutes left in the game. The Hoosiers add 1 more to Ohio State's losing streak. Indiana wins 66-54. Devontae Green leading the Cream and Crimson with 19 points off the bench. Loyola hosting Evansville today. The Purple Aces looking for their first Missouri Valley Conference win. You might remember this is the same Evansville team that stunned college basketball back in November. That's when they beat top-ranked Kentucky in Lexington. Not today, though. Evansville's only lead over Loyola came early in the first half. The Ramblers roll the Purple Aces 78-44. We're back with another check of the weather forecast before we head out after this. But first, here's a couple more sports scores from today.
And it's Monday from 4:30 to 7.
A local woman is celebrating a big milestone today. It's her 108th birthday. Jenny Zawada is originally from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and has lived in a number of places. But for the last few years, she's called Carmel her home. Here's what Jenny has to say is the key to a long life.
Everything is good for you if you don't overdo it, including candy.
Okay.
Or cake or cookies or whatever. If you don't overdo it, it's okay. It's good for you.
Jenny's family says she drove her own car and even mowed her own lawn until she was 104, Kyle.
You go, Jenny.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday to you. All right, we've got a few snowflakes mixing in with this final band of rain and snow that's moving through. It's not going to be accumulating or causing any problems on the roadways. So that's the good news. Things are dry tomorrow and low 40s.
All right, we're coming back for more news tomorrow night at 6. You should too. Until then, good night.